All right, everyone. This is just kind of quick sit down video. I don't have a script for this, so I'm sorry if it's kind of all over the place. But I watched Supergirl last night and I have some thoughts and feelings about the movie that I want to talk about and kind of get off my chest. And so before I begin, just let you know this is my opinion, and obviously there's going to be spoilers. So, Supergirl follows the events of Superman. So, the movie Supergirl takes place after the movie Superman. And it starts off with Supergirl. It's her birthday weekend. She wakes up drunk. She's hungover. Her ship's a wreck. And, she's like sleeping in bed with Crypto, Crypto's eating her breakfast cereal. She's just a messy girl. She's a messy party girl. And it's her birthday weekend. So you're thinking, like, oh, well, she's like getting crazy because it's her birthday weekend, only to quickly find out that this is just her life, right? She's just going on one drunken night after another drunken night, like going to bar hopping, not cleaning her ship. Like her ship looks like an episode of Hoarders. She's just a very like messy girl. Her life's a mess, and it reflects that with her, her wardrobe, her ship, her hair, because her hair is like always like messy. She's just a messy girl. She's a messy girl, and her life is disheveled. And so then once we get that kind of like little glimpse of her life, it cuts into Ruthie, a little girl that she teams up with in the movie. So Ruthie's family gets murdered by these brigands. Cream, the head brigand, he goes to their house, he goes to their planet, he murders the family, he leaves Ruthie alive, and obviously, like, Ruthie wants revenge. So she's like begging Supergirl to help her get revenge. Supergirl's like, no, I'm not helping you, until Cream eventually shoots Crypto with a poisonous dart and steals Supergirl's ship. So now they're like forced to team up to go after Cream, because obviously Cream has the antidote for Crypto. Supergirl wants her ship back, and like Ruthie wants revenge for her family. So the whole movie is just pretty much them just like teaming up, trying to get revenge on Cream. And then like things happen throughout the movie, right? So it's like there's fight scenes, there's like conflict, there's like troubles they run into, just like a typical like hero film. I think so many people online complain about this film and to call it slop, and they call it like boring and a waste of money and a waste of time. I thought it was just like a classical, like just superhero movie. The superhero has to overcome something and like wins at the end, like wins the day. Um, I think it's kind of crazy that people were calling this film like girl powers, or like, oh, it's like they were using like, I don't know, they were calling like feminist propaganda and like woke propaganda, and you're like, oh, like girl power, like hee hee hee. But it's like the movie is called Supergirl, and the lead is Supergirl. Like, we're gonna want to see Supergirl like kick ass and like have some amazing fight scenes and beat people up. Like anyone who goes into a hero movie wants to see that. They want to see the hero, regardless of their gender. Okay, kick ass and take names. Like, that's the reason why we go watch hero movies, right? Because we want to see the good guy beat up bad guys and win. It's like not that hard to understand. It's like not a difficult concept. And so I did see some people quoting James Gunn saying that Supergirl has to overcome misogyny in the film. I just want to say I watched the film and there was no misogyny in the film that I could detect. So, like, when I saw this tweet being shared, this quote from James Gunn being shared, I was expecting like some Captain Marvel, like cartoonish 1950s misogyny that she'll have to deal with, like how in Captain Marvel, when that like guy was like came up to her while she was like reading the newspaper, it was like, oh come on honey, like smile, give me a smile, like some BS misogyny like that. But there was like no misogyny in Supergirl. The bad guys, the brigands, they were kidnapping little girls for like child brides. And because like their women went extinct, or I think they either like murdered their women or like their women went extinct. I don't really know. We don't really get a clear answer on what happened to the Brigand's women. We just know that their women are completely gone, and that's why they're like going from like planet to planet and like kidnapping little girls for like child brides, which I thought was really weird that people online who complained about this movie like completely like glossed over the Muslim Epstein Island factor of the movie. It's like they talked about misogyny and they talked about how it's like feminist propaganda, but then it's like they completely like gloss over the child bride concept of the story. And it's like it was so jarring. Like it was such a jarring thing to see in a film that's like, oh, these aren't just like regular bad guys. Like these guys are like rapists and they like are like literally like running like some sort of like child bride ring and like pedo ring and it's like Muslim Epstein Island up in here. And it's like the fact that like people online who were complaining about this movie like completely like just glossed over that, or maybe they just like forgot about it. But it makes me wonder if they even watched the movie, because I felt like that was just such a jarring thing to have in the film. Like it was just something I just wasn't really expecting. I just thought it was like really crazy that they added that factor to the bad guys like characters, because it's not something you like see in films, like especially like a superhero like fantasy film. Like that's not something you don't typically see, so it was really jarring. I thought it was like a twist that really paid off, because it did make the bad guys like stand out and not just make them like your typical like cookie cutter like bad guy. And I think the thing is that like a lot of people were complaining about the Supergirl movie is that they were comparing an interview that Millie Alcock gave, and they were comparing it to like the one Rachel Zegler gave regarding Snow White. I think you know which one I'm talking about, where she's like weird, weird. So I just want to say like the reason why the soup the sorry, the Snow White interview that like Rachel Zegler gave like upset so many people is because in her interview she was smug and condescending and bitchy. And you have to remember, like in this interview, for context, she was talking about the prince, right? So she was calling the prince like weird, weird, and how was like the prince is stalking her. But if you remember in Snow White, the prince does not play that big of a role. Like yes, he's in the film, and yes, he's like the love interest of Snow White, but like his role isn't really that big. Like he does not have a major role in Snow White. So for her to have such a disdain for a character who's like pretty much minor, it's like a minor character, is like really baffling. And for her to like call a prince like weird, weird, when like for quote unquote stalking Snow White, when he doesn't do that at all. We literally see this man, we literally only see the prince and Snow White in like two fucking scenes. So for her to be like, oh, he was stalking her the whole film, it's like, bitch, no, he wasn't. He was only there in two scenes. It's two, like if two scenes is considered stalking, then like we have lost the plot on like what words have mean, like what words mean anymore, right? And so, and then also the Snow White movie literally had nothing but problems from like start to end. Like that movie was gonna flop. Like you know that movie was gonna suck, because that movie literally had nothing but problems from start to end. Like with casting, with writing, costuming, sound mixture, like whatever it takes to make a film. They had nothing but problems. Like so you knew this movie was gonna flop, because this movie was just cursed. Like everything about this movie was cursed. And so as an actress who's playing the lead role in the film, and you know this movie is going to suck ass, like it should be your job to give these interviews where you're selling the movie. Okay, where you're like talking up the movie and you're selling it, because you know it's gonna suck. Like you know it's gonna suck ass. So you want people to come out and see it, even though you know it's gonna suck ass. So you give these interviews where you're selling the movie, not giving these interviews where you're being like this like annoying little bitch, okay, being like weird, weird. And so people were comparing that to like this interview that like Millie Alcock gave for Supergirl. I just want to say that Millie Alcock's interview for Supergirl is nothing like the Rachel Zegler interview, okay? Like Rachel Zegler was being condescending and smug. rude, bitchy. Millie Alcock gave none of that energy in her Supergirl interview, right? Like in her Supergirl interview, the one that's like being compared to the Rachel Zegler one, like she's just like, I don't know, being silly and goofy. So I think the thing that people were pissed off regarding Millie Alcock's interview in Supergirl was because she said that the movie didn't center around a man and it didn't center around love. And I watched the film and neither of those things are true, right? Like, so the movie does center around a man. It centers around Cream, the villain, because, you know, Ruthie wants to get revenge for her family. Supergirl wants the antidote for crypto. And then the movie does center around love because once again, like she's going after Cream for crypto, like, right? Because Cream shot crypto with a poisonous dart. She wants the antidote. Like she's doing all this because for her love for crypto. So even though it's not like your typical like love story, it is about love. Like it's about her love for crypto. And it does center around a man. It centers around Cream, the villain, because that's what, you know, the villain drives the plot. Like he's driving the plot. And so the movie does like center around Cream. And then it does center around love because of her love for crypto, Supergirl's love for crypto. And also like, I don't know why people were saying this movie sucks, like why Supergirl sucks. Like I just thought it was a fine film, right? It was a good, fine film. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't overshadow Superman in any way whatsoever. It's not as good as a film as Superman was. So like the Superman film, like it was a star-studded cast. You know, you got Nicholas Hoult as like Lex Luthor. It was an amazing film. Supergirl wasn't trying to be like the next Superman. It wasn't trying to overshadow Superman in any way, shape, or form. It was just like a fun little side project to like tell Supergirl's story. And with Supergirl, I saw like this fight. There was a lot of fight scenes. I thought the fight scenes were really cool. I did love how at the end, how Supergirl's fight with Cream mimicked her like fight in the animated series. I think it was like, it was a DC movie. It was like an animated DC movie. I forget what it's called right now, but like it mimics her Supergirl's fight with Cream in the movie mimics the fight that Supergirl has with like Darkseid, and I think it's Apocalypse. I think it's like the movie's called Apocalypse. Yeah, it's like the animated film Apocalypse. But yeah, like her fight with Cream mimics the one with Supergirl's fight with with Darkseid in Apocalypse, which I thought was really cool. So obviously, that's someone at DC is like doing their homework. But yeah, that's what I really just wanted to talk about regarding Supergirl. I thought it was a fine film. I enjoyed it. If you haven't watched it yet, I recommend go watching it. And yeah, it's like a good, fun film. So I just want to leave it off at that. Thank you. Bye.